Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode, we made some goaltending adjustments before the season started as we traded Logan Scarlett to the Chicago Blackhawks, and we brought in a new backup goaltender, that being one Ricardo Brathwaite, I think his name is. Let me double check on that just to make sure. Ricardo Brathwaite. So we brought in this guy. He hasn't been the best backup so far, but I mean, he's playing his first NHL action, so I'm hoping that he could get better. Maybe he's going to be a better playoff goalie because he was really good in the AHL playoffs last season. So hopefully he could get a little bit better. Also, Stanley King has been playing this year, and he's got a 909, which isn't the best, but we are currently the best defensive team in the NHL despite not having a super good penalty kill. And just in general, this has been a great start to the year. We are currently 28-9-1. And we've been getting some really good production from a lot of different guys. As you can see, Aiden Irving leading the team with 46 points. You have Luke Misa on 46 as well. Michael Nisa's on 38. Jaquezi's on 37. Lucius is on 33. Bunch of guys on 20-plus points as well. So the depth scoring has been very nice, and I'm hoping that it continues to improve as the season goes on. And like I was mentioning with the goaltenders, they haven't been the best so far, but I could definitely see their numbers improving in the second half if we find out our penalty kill, because like I said, it hasn't been super good up to this point in time. But in general, our team is looking pretty damn solid in terms of depth scoring and plus minus and all that. So I don't know if I'll make much changes as the season goes on. But we'll definitely see about that once we get to the deadline, because you can see we already have a bunch of guys on 10 plus goals. Enroth, Misa, Wilson, Groshek, the other Misa, Lucius, Irving, and Jaquezi. Irving and Jaquezi are both on pace for really good seasons this year, so hopefully they continue that in the second half of the year as well. So there's that. And yeah, before we get into simulating the rest of the season, maybe making some trades, let's get into your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, just looks like they need to stockpile defense and goalies, and this team is ready to go deep in the playoffs. And yeah, defense, I think, is probably obviously an area of strength at this team, as you can see with our defensive core at the moment. So hopefully we could get some good defensive prospects in, and we could kind of maybe make our team good for the long term, because we kind of don't have the best defensive prospects when we look at them. Like, there's some medium fours, but they aren't really panning out. Some low leads that are kind of panning out, but are just barely not NHL ready. And you have guys like Backer, who at least we have, Goddard. Hopefully those guys develop into being something decent, because that would help us a lot down the road. And then goalie prospect-wise, you can see we really don't have a lot other than Bergqvist and I guess Biggs. Grant might get an opportunity to be a backup at some point because of the fact he's a 77, and he's also been a very consistent and good AHL goaltender. He's also played 3 games in the NHL this season, and he was actually really good during that span too. So at some point, maybe we'll see Johnny Grant back up in the NHL, and that would be pretty nice, because obviously we drafted this guy in the second round, which is kind of crazy, but he never developed into being like that backup role. But now he's kind of getting closer to being an NHL goalie at the age of 27. And the last and final comment is from Sanaro Otaku, who says, a lot to digest from the season so far. Johnny Grant deserves a chance at backup since he's been playing well in the AHL, and he was good while King was injured. Agree with putting Groshek on the second line, and I'm surprised at Goldman's lack of production. Probably shouldn't write him off yet, but if he doesn't develop for more than next season, it might be time to think about moving on. And the reason why Goldman is underperforming, I replied in the comment, is I think it's just lack of ice time. Because if we look at his stats here, he's only played 9 minutes and 30 seconds a game, which is like fourth line ice time and a little bit of penalty kill time. But you can see his ice time has just not been super good at this point in time. Once he gets into like a third line role, once like Luke Misa has gone off the team and stuff like that, I think he'll be much better with his ice time. And I think his production should go up. He has not scored a single goal this season, which is kind of crazy, but he isn't also shooting a lot. Last season, he only shot 78 shots through 82 games, so he's not really a heavy shooting type of guy. He's more of a pass-first kind of guy. So once we get him onto like a third line, hopefully we can put maybe a good shooter next to him, and then maybe that production goes up a lot, because I could see him definitely as like a third line center down the road. Maybe Bickle, who's a low lead as well, generates enough growth to being a top 6 center at some point. That would be the hope, at least with those two guys. So I'm not going to write Goldman off yet, and I don't think I'm going to write him off next season, but at some stage, if he doesn't continue to develop, he could honestly be like Ville Pettersson in my Chicago series from last year, if you guys remember. That guy I drafted pretty high up. He never really panned out to be anything. and then we'd let him go to another team, and then he started to find his game a little bit, but he still wasn't the best player in the world for a two-way forward. Also, he was saying about Johnny Grant deserving a chance as backup is what I was kind of just mentioning. I think he could get a chance. The only thing is right now Brathwaite goes through waivers, so if I was to send Brathwaite down, he would go through waivers and he'd probably get claimed more than likely. So that's why I don't want to send him down right now. But once we get to the playoffs, maybe there's a chance we send down Brathwaite and we call up Grant instead, depending on how the goaltending is performing in the postseason. And he was agreeing also about putting Groshek on the second line, which is what I did basically, because Groshek wasn't doing actually that good this season in terms of goal scoring. Like, he's doing solid enough, but his goal scoring is definitely way less than Irving. So we got Irving's now on the top line, Groshek's playing second line, and obviously we could rework this a bit. It's probably because we have a lot of shooters in our top six that it's taken away from his offense a bit, because Groshek, Irving, we have Jaquezi, who's on 20 goals right now too. So there's a lot of kind of goal scorers that want that puck a lot. So I feel like some of the guys aren't getting as much of an opportunity because of that. But hopefully, maybe Groshek's suffering a little bit because there's no Stankoven in the top six. I don't really know exactly, but maybe that is the case. What's kind of funny, though, is the day I'm actually recording this, Logan Stankoven picked up his third goal in 3 games, or 4 games, I think it is. And one of them was against the Winnipeg Jets, which is kind of funny. And look at that. Our next game is against the Dallas Stars of full teams. That's kind of weird. Anyways, so there's that. I think we are ready to continue assimilating a bit. I don't think, like I said, we're going to make any trades this year, but there is a chance we might make some at the deadline, depending what's out there. But I think there's nothing really I want to upgrade with this team or kind of sacrifice with this team, because we're a good young roster, so I don't know if there's any veterans that would be beneficial to our team. But let's continue to assimilate and see if our penalty kill improves. We know that it was one of the worst in the league at this point in time, so the only thing that I would probably maybe look at doing is kind of like finding a way to get some people more ice time, because some guys like Eberle is not getting a lot of ice time at the moment, so it's not the best scenario in the world, but obviously we could adjust that. I guess we'll go back to Enroth as a fourth liner, even though he's a sniper just for now. I don't think he was actually playing on the fourth line, but I'm going to just make a little bit of an adjustment there just to kind of give guys more ice time. So let's stop the sim because I can't see what's happening here. We did beat Dallas 5-4. Nice little win there. 6-3 win over, yeah, we're cruising still. We are still cruising. There's 2 games that we lose in a row, though, because the game wanted to give us a couple losses. Mario Ferraro on waivers, I don't think I need him, right? Yeah, he's a 75 at 35, and he's still making 1.8, so no thank you. Not really a beneficial player to my team, I don't think. We have lost actually 5 games this month, but I think it's just because the sim engine wants us to slow down a little bit, which is reasonable. We are now 36-14-1. We are still first place in the entire league by the span of 5 points, which is kind of nuts. But we do have multiple games more played than the Buffalo Sabres do at the moment. What's interesting is we do have 3 first-round picks this year. So the Red Wings are way out of a playoff spot. We have their first-rounder. And also the New Jersey Devils are actually in a wild card spot, so that might not be a super high up pick. But that Detroit pick is looking really good right now. Let me go propose trade and see what the value is looking like on those first round picks. Draft picks. Yeah, see, Detroit's has a lot of value right now because that could honestly be a lottery pick. New Jersey's might not be because they might make the playoffs unless they fall off in the second half. And then we have our own first rounder, but we have a lot of picks in the early stages of this upcoming draft, so we might be able to find some really good players with those picks, or we could trade them for even better players that we need. So I do like the fact that we stockpiled up on a couple good picks, and yeah, hopefully Detroit continues to not do that well. Hopefully New Jersey falls out of a playoff spot. They're on 58 points. One team that is outside of the playoffs in the East is on 52. So there is a chance that the Devils could still fall out of a playoff spot, which would be great for us. But obviously that might not happen because they're a pretty damn solid roster too. So let's go another month and see how we are at March the 1st. 5-0 shutout over the Calgary Flames. A nice little win there. 6-4 win over Nashville. 2-0 loss to Boston. 5-2 loss to Anaheim. Yeah, they're definitely giving us more losses to start this episode than last episode, but I think it's more just to kind of balance us out a little bit because or else we're going to be too dominant. Like, we're on 41 wins and it's not even the trade deadline yet. That's kind of nuts. That is kind of nuts. 84 points, which has us actually a point back of the Penguins. The Penguins are doing well this year as well. And Buffalo's on 82 points. So right now we're not in the President's Trophy, necessarily the President's Trophy team or favored yet, which is kind of good because if we win the President's Trophy, I feel like we'll be an early exit. Let's go to a couple games up to the day before the deadline and then see if there's anything that we need to do in terms of moves here. I don't think there's going to be, but you never know. Luke Misa's on 77 points. It's probably because he's a pending free agent and he wants a lot of money, but he's going to be likely leaving the team at the end of the season, and I'm not going to be giving him a ton of money, so he's just trying to basically make his stockpile go up in terms of free agency and what teams want. But let's take a look at our team stats right now here at this point in time. We are currently the second best team in the league behind only the Pittsburgh Penguins. In terms of goals for per game, we are one of the best offensive teams still. Goals against per game wise, we are still the best defensive team. Pittsburgh's actually really close too, so that's interesting. Our power play percentage is currently one of the better ones in the league as well. Not the top one, but still 22% is pretty damn good. And our penalty kill has improved as well. As the season's gone on, it's gone on to be a one that's just outside of the top 10, I think. So our penalty kill has drastically improved in this episode. We got 7 shorthanded goals now, 19-10-0 on home ice, 23-8-2 on the road. Yeah, everything's clicking now. So that's good that our penalty kill is getting better, because I think that means that we might have a good playoff run. Because our penalty kill was doing trash before, and all of a sudden it's like turned the page completely. So everything's going good so far. I don't think there's any moves that I'm going to make, unless there's something that we really need to bring in at the trade deadline. But let's take a look at what is out there at the trade deadline anyways, just for fun, just to see if there's anything that kind of piques our interest. But I don't think I'm going to make any more trades. There's another loss to Buffalo of all teams, who's also up there in the standings. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with losing a couple games to make us a bit more of an average team going into the playoffs. So there's some good defenders on the block, Byram and Heiskanen, but I don't need those kind of guys. Kyle Connor's on the block with 1 year left near the end of his career. Don't need him anymore. Rupe Hintz, Carter Hurt, William Nylander. Yeah, there's some good players out there, good veterans, but it doesn't really make much sense for us to bring any of these type of guys in. Radish is an interesting one, because he's only making just under $5 million as an 86. Taylor Radish is interesting, but I don't know if I have any room for him on my roster. Probably not, because we already got a lot of good right wingers, so I don't think I'm going to make any trades. Carter Hart looks like he just got dealt to the San Jose Sharks. Yep, he was dealt to San Jose. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make any moves here. Let's just go available here for a second just to see if there's anybody else past him. Meyer, Fox, Coronado, Lidstein. Like, there's good players, don't get me wrong, but most of these are players that we already have kind of in our lineup in a sense. And we're getting offered a trade. So we give up 2 prospects. Of course, Arizona would get an Agostino prospect, which is kind of funny. A 3rd rounder, a Klim Kostin, and some top 6 defender. I don't think I really need those type of guys. It does give us a bit more depth, but Klim Kostin's probably old at this point. Yeah, he's 34. He's 4th liner, which I don't really need. And then we have Gillies, who's a guy that's not going to make the NHL, unless he's just low on morale. Yeah, I don't need this trade. No, thank you, Arizona. I appreciate it, but it's kind of funny that they wanted an Agostino guy from our team. Yeah, I'm not going to make any trades. Once again, we're going to just stay the course and go with our roster. Sure, we've been losing a little bit more games lately, but that's okay because that might make us a better team in the playoffs. So let's go to the 25th, see how we do in these next few weeks. Simon Benoit on waivers. Let's see, 75 at 35, coming back from injury. Don't really need him. We already got some depth defenders in the AHL that are just as good. Alex Vlasic on waivers. What about him? 32 years old. 77's not terrible, but I don't really think I need him, to be honest. It would be an okay depth defenseman, but we got guys in the system. I'm okay with it. So Arizona... Oh my goodness. So Arizona has fired their head coach in Vaclav Stejko. What a name. Yeah, we definitely are losing a lot more games this episode, but that's okay because it does make us better maybe for the playoffs, as weird as it sounds. We have dropped down to tied for first place in our division, so we might not even win our division now based on how we've been simulating, but that's okay. Like I said, that's okay, because if you win your division, if you won the Stanley Cup, or not the Stanley Cup, if you won the President's Trophy, you might not win the Stanley Cup. And we want to win that Stanley Cup, so. There you go, 48, 24, and 2. We have clinched the playoff spot with still 8 games to go. And we are still one of the best teams in the league. The Penguins might be running away with the President's Trophy, though. They're on 103 points. Let's go these 3 games. Vancouver 2-1 win. Dallas 5-2 win. Palin was never injured. Oh my goodness, a 12-6 win over the Coyotes. Holy crap. They are playing pretty terribly this season, so that does make sense. But how did we allow them to score 6 goals? But we scored 12 goals in that game. That's kind of nuts. I kind of want to go to the, what's this screen called? Luke Meeson, 94 points. That's kind of nuts. What I wanted to go to, though, is I wanted to go to this action tracker thing. Because I did want to see if there was any crazy performances in that game, that 12-6 win. If it shows anything in here. Because I don't think I've ever scored 12 goals in the simmed game. Let's see. Don't see anything right now. I'm surprised I have not seen anything. Oh, there's one. Will Vandermeer had 4 points in that 12-6 win. Love to see it. Wow, we came back from a 6-goal deficit in that game. What the hell? We were down 6-0 to Arizona, and we win 12-6 in that game. It's 12 unanswered goals. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit weird. And then also, apparently, Aiden Irving had a hat trick in that game and 4 points. That's insane. How the heck were we down 6-0 to a team that was like reversed of us, and then we just all of a sudden blew up for 12 more goals? That's kind of crazy. Well, that's why you look at the action tracker occasionally, just to see what happens. Okay, let's do a couple more games. How do we do against Boston? 8-3 win and a 6-5 win. Look how good our offense has been the last 4 games. 5 goals, 12 goals, 8 goals, and 6 goals. That's 19 plus 12, which is big math. Over 30 goals in 4 games easily, which is crazy. Okay, let's get these last 3 games done. We know that we're going to be a playoff team. We went 7-4 there. Aiden Irving separated his shoulder. No. Oh my goodness, that's the worst possible injury. He's been kind of injury prone the last few years. He will miss the entire playoffs. That's a substantial blow to our team. Let me go replace player for the time being. We do win every game in the month of April going into the playoffs. So we finished 56, 24, and 2. But our captain has separated his shoulder, which means he will not be back for the rest of the season, which is insane. And I think we might have actually won the President's Trophy because of that stretch at the end, which is not great. Oh my goodness. Let me go to edit lines here for a second and see who's in the replacement for Aiden Irving at the moment. Lannon. Okay, so we got to get Groshek to the top line for sure. We're going to put Enroth as the second liner because he's a sniper. Actually, is it time to give Wilson a chance in the top 6? Probably, actually. Yeah, I'll get Wilson into the top 6. Enroth could play with Eberle. And Lannon would play with Fairchild and Goldman. Man, that's a sad injury to have. I really like Aiden Irving a lot. Like, he might be one of my favorite players in this series. So, for him to go down like that is not ideal. I am going to put somebody else on this point part. Cairo should be on his own power play, right? Yeah, he is. We're going to get Wilson on the first power play as well. Might as well do some substantial adjustments here, considering the fact that we just lost our captain, which is not great. We'll put Jacquezie on the point because we know he can score goals. We'll take Wilson out of this unit, and I will give that opportunity to Enroth, I think, because he's a sniper. And in this one, obviously, we will take Lannon out. We will give this one to Groshek. Well, actually, Groshek might be already on this one, right? No, he's not. We'll give this to Groshek. Nice. And then we will take Groshek off this one. And Vernarski's not getting power play time, so I'll give Vernarski some power play time. There we go. So some adjustments to our power play with the injury to our captain. That is not a great injury to have. I wish it was just like a day-to-day injury, but to separate his shoulder at the end of the season and miss it all like the next 2 months is terrible. Oh boy, I wonder how good his season was, but man, yeah, Aiden Irving has been a little bit injury prone, which is not exactly what I had in mind, but it is what it is. Let's take a look at our team stats and player stats and see who we're going up against in the first round. And yep, we did win the President's Trophy because of that good winning streak near the end of the season. So that's a bit scary. Means I feel like we're going to be an early exit, but you never know. You never know. We've won a lot of President's Trophies, I think, already at this point in time. But goals for per game, we were the second best offensive team, only behind the Anaheim Ducks of all teams. Goals against per game wise, we were the third best defensive team, so very good offensively, very good defensively. Our power play percentage improved drastically, went up to 26%, so I guess we got a lot of power play goals near the end of the season. Our penalty kill went up to 82%, which is just outside of the top 10, which is okay. That's good to have still. It's not like it's in the bottom half of the league. We did score 10 shorthanded goals, though, which is one of the most in the league. 28-13-0 on home ice and 28-11-2 on the road. 9-1 in our last 10 games going into the postseason. Okay. So we know Luke Misa had 104 points. Who else had some good seasons? So, yeah, Luke Misa, 104 points as a pending free agent. I don't think he comes back, which kind of sucks, but he and his brother have been very, very good. Yeah, Luke Misa, unfortunately, will likely be gone after a 100-point season, just exactly like Logan Stankoven was, because I think Stankoven put up around similar numbers and then left us. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Michael Misa on 91 points is really good. Like that. Chaz Lucia's on 73 points. He's also a pending free agent, so there's a good chance that we probably lose both. Maybe lose one of them. I don't know. Jerry Bickle had 53 points in his rookie season, so shout out to Jerry Bickle. There's a chance he might be your Calder winner as a former 7th round pick, which is awesome. Yeah, this guy's a very good passer, so if you always put him next to a good shooter, he should develop into being really, really solid. But yeah, he was drafted 215th overall, and he might be a Calder winner. There's a chance. Goldman on 22 points. Goldman had a very good second half of the season. He had no goals when we looked at 38 games, but he scored 7 down the stretch. And he also picked up, I think, another 9 assists. So he scored a lot more goals. His plus-minus went to a +15 from an even 0 as well. That's a good season from Goldman. 1 short-handed goal. And his face-off percentage still not the best, but his takeaway numbers are getting up there as well. So I think, like I said, once he gets into a third-line role, he should do relatively well. Cam with 4 points in 6 games is pretty solid as a depth option. Left wing wise, Grosek only played 76 games, only had 73 points, and only 29 goals. So a bit of a down year for Philip Grosek. I don't really know why, but hopefully he could get back to that. It's probably because he missed those 6 games, or else he would have been a 30-goal scorer again. But yeah, his shooting percentage dropped from a 17% to a 10.4. So he definitely did struggle a little bit this year. I don't really know if it's because of Stankoven leaving or what, but that kind of sucks. And Roth on 34 points is pretty solid, plus 23. Eberle 31 points, -2. Not bad. And then Landon had 2 goals in 12 games, and obviously he's going to be in the playoffs to play, just because of obviously the injury to Irving, who had 99 points and 44 goals. He missed 1 game this season, actually, only. And now obviously he's going to miss the playoffs too, which sucks. But yeah, Aiden Irving had a really good season this year. But you can see, like, over the last 4 years, he's never had a full season. So that's where I'm a little bit scared injury-wise, that he's a little bit more injury-prone. He's already 28 years old as well, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, great season from Aiden. Really sucks that he wasn't able to play that last game of the season and also the entire playoffs, as he's like kind of like one of those heart and soul players on this team. Jaquezie had 38 goals and had 76 points, plus 37. Really good season from Jaquezie, up to an 89 overall. Jeez. Yeah, Jaquezzi's really good, and he also had 2 more short-handed goals and 2 more short-handed points, so he's already at 15 career short-handed points, and he's only 24, so really good takeaway numbers as well for a winger. Really like Jaquezzi. At least Jaquezzi makes it a little bit easier with Irving being gone. 60 points from Caden Wilson, and now he's getting a chance in the top 6. I like that a lot from Caden Wilson. Yeah, Caden Wilson's been getting better every single year still, too. So a lot of players doing well on this team. 22 points from Fairchild's not bad for a 4th-line guy. I like it. Considering the fact we weren't sure if he was going to be a good player or not, considering he was really old when we drafted him. He's turning out to be decent. He's got really good passing, so if we could put that next to a really good sniper, maybe that will help out a lot for him. Kyrou on 50 points is pretty solid. 48 points only for Vandermeer, so Vandermeer dropped off a little bit offensively this year. However, he still had a very solid season in terms of offense and defensive play. Yeah, Vandermeer's still been a pretty good defender, so I'm hoping that he continues to be good on the offensive front and defensive front, because he is still locked up for 6 more seasons. Louis Var on 24 points plus 22, Vernarski on 21 points plus 33, Scarlett with 14 points and a plus 38, and then you had Palin on 10 points plus 19. So our defensive core doing very good, considering every single one of these defenders almost is 26 or younger, except for Kyrou. Goaltending wise, I mean, we're still one of the best defensive teams, which is kind of surprising, but Stanley King didn't really blow me away with his 904. His goals against is good, but yeah, him and Brathwaite didn't do the best. Brathwaite kind of struggled, actually, with an 891. But hopefully they're better in terms of the playoffs. 4 assists, though, from Stanley King is pretty impressive. He might have led the league in points for goaltenders. So a pretty damn good season. We didn't really have any minus players on our roster except for Eberle, who was -2. And then we had a bunch of guys on 50-plus points. And a bunch of guys on 20-plus goals, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on 20-plus goals. And then you had a bunch on like 10-plus as well. So our offense was fantastic this season, and hopefully continues that in the playoffs. So there is that. Let's take a look at stats around the entire league. Yanni Koivisto of the Ducks led with 122 points, him and Trevor Zegras, so you can see why Anaheim was so good offensively this season. Connor Bedard up there, Cons, Ehlers, McDavid. But Luka Misa was literally top 10 in points, which is kind of nuts because I didn't see that coming at all. I know he wants to get paid, but still. Goals, Koivisto led with 59, him and McDavid. Then you had Zegers, Thompson, Caulfield, and Kucherov all above 50. Okay. Kind of funny to see Nick Ehlers still up there, though. Kind of wish we still had him on our roster, but at the same time, we have a nice new era with this roster, so I like our roster still a lot more. Let's take a look at takeaways just to see if there's any good Selke candidates. Kent Bachman, who we played a couple years ago, I guess, in Vegas. Or was it last season? I don't even remember at this point. But 55.7% on the faceoff dot. He's likely going to be your favorite for the Selke. However, Tim Stützle is up there. Anton Lundell's up there as well. Roger McQueen is up there, but he had less faceoffs. Interesting. Most fights, Gavin Weeks with 26 fights as a 20-year-old, and then you had Ryan Pitt with 12 fights. So those guys definitely fought each other when Tampa played St. Louis at some stage. Okay, best defenseman point-wise was Cale Makar with 106 points. God damn. So no Norris Trophy this year, unfortunately, for Vandermeer, but some really good defensive numbers from a lot of these guys up here. So there is that. Best goaltender in terms of wins was Stanley King with 45. So shout out to Stanley King on that. Most shoutouts was Dan Vladar of Vegas with 6. Best save percentage by a starter. You're looking at Stuart Skinner with a 914 through 66 games. And then also Vadim Zherenko with 914 through 65. Best goals against average by a starter is also going to be Stuart Skinner. Him and actually Stanley King had the best goals against average amongst the leaders, but likely Skinner will get it because of his save percentage, which Stuart Skinner's already won, I think, a Vezina in the series before. And the most assists was Stanley King with 4, him and Gavin Curry of the Ducks. Okay. Best rookie this season. Did Bickle win the Rookie of the Year? Yes, he did. Let's go. That's probably one of my favorite things I've seen is a 7th round pick that was drafted that late winning the Calder. 53 points and a +5. Yeah, he's definitely winning it because his plus-minus was better than almost everybody else's out there too. So shout out to Jerry Bickle, who's going to win a Calder at the age of 24, and he was one of the last picks of that draft. That's almost like an Andre Palat type of idea, which is kind of cool. So I like that a lot. So there you go. There is the player stats for the season. The question is now, who are we playing in round 1? And are we going to get cheesed in the playoffs considering we just won the President's Trophy? The St. Louis Blues. So Dave, the emoji from my Discord, is probably cheering right now for the Blues. They went 39, 32, and 11. Oh, man, they might be a cheese team. I literally feel like we're going to get cheesed here. Even without looking at their roster, based on our records, you can see I don't even know how they made the playoffs. They were 2-5-3 in their last 10 games as well. Yeah, I think we're going to get cheesed. Let's take a look comparison-wise first, and then we'll take a look at the roster. But I think we're going to get cheesed here. They were the last team to make it in our division with 89 points only. They scored 3.48 goals per game, which is not bad, but still. They were not that good defensively at all. Their power play was pretty good, though. And their penalty kill was okay. So, yeah, their power play is pretty much where they get most of their offense from, I guess. But, I feel like we're going to get cheesed. Because of their record in their last 10 games going into the playoffs and versus ours, they're going to find a way to, like, sweep us or something. And if I'm right, I could literally predict a lot of these things with this game. But let's see, what are the Blues looking like? See, they look really good on paper, yet they were struggling at the end of the season, which is weird. And they also had a weird record, so I think we're going to get cheesed. Like, it's a good record, so it's not technically getting cheesed, but their record is cheese. Isaac Rosehill, Peyton Eckford, Kirill Vishnevsky. Filthy top line. Second line, Jeff Lashoff, Zach Bolduc, and Gavin Weeks, who we know fights a lot of people. Very good second line. Third line, Isaac Rosen, Xavier Bourgault, and Jordan Kyrou, still playing at 35. Very good third line. And a fourth line of Alex Shea. Keandre Miller's playing center? There must be an injury. There's no way Keandre Miller played center all year, so. And Porter Martone. Huh. You think they would use a forward as a center instead of the defenseman, but who am I to judge? That is a very, very good forward group. Very good. Defensively, Aaron Kerviharu, Kalen Addison, Jonathan Myrenberg, Michael Buchinger, Philly Heinola's there. Wasn't he on a different team when we played him last, or no? I don't know. It might have been in Anaheim. Might have been. I don't know. And then Adam Ginning. This defensive core is okay too. It's not the best defensive core, but it's still very balanced. And in goaltending wise, they have a good goalie in Dustin Wolf and Hugo Allenfelt. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to get cheesed here. They do have an injury to Dominic Kunitz, which is good as a Kunitz guy that's scratched and injured. Because Fred Kunitz players in the playoffs. Does this guy actually play kind of like Chris Kunitz, out of curiosity? He kind of does, actually. A lot of hits, so. That's interesting. But it's good that he's injured, because I don't want to play a Kunitz guy in the playoffs, because I know how that always ends up, like Kaiser as well as there. So yeah, that's a very solid-looking team for their record and how they did in their last 10 games going into the playoffs. So I'm kind of scared about that, to be honest. I definitely think we're going to get cheesed in only 4 games or so, because just that's the way the Engine rocks. I'm hoping that we completely blow them out of the water, but they have a very good roster for only having 39 wins, which obviously we have, I'd say, a way better roster, but we had 56 wins. So there's a little bit of cheese there. And also the injury to Aiden Irving might play a factor too, because obviously that's a big guy for our offense that we lose. Because technically, if we go back to player stats here, without Aiden Irving, our next best player was Michael Misa, who had 8 less points, and then afterwards it drops off by almost 20 points. So we need a big playoffs out of Philip Groshek with Irving being gone, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 1 against the St. Louis Blues as we look to avenge the injury for Aiden Irving and try and get our team to win a Stanley Cup this year without our captain in the lineup. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.